Hey, it's Adam Zdroik of RotoWire. I'm going to be going over my favorite Premier League value cards over the international break. I'll be diving into the profiles of 4 players as well as a few others in just a little bit. All right, here we are, 4 matches in, international break, at least 4 matches for the Premier League. There are a couple other leagues that have only played 3 matches. That would be the Bundesliga. But as you can see here, rotowire.com/soccer, we got power rankings up for Bundesliga. Check those out if you're into the Bundesliga, if you want to know what's going on in that league. We have a bunch of other stuff at the site. We have currently have EPL rankings up. We have Fantrax rankings up. This is for game week 5. So if you're watching this, I'm talking right now Thursday, September 7th. I'm going to be giving some value picks here in terms of Sorare. Again, Sorare that the prices go up and down, depending on injuries, depending on who's starting and whatnot. So if you watch this 2 weeks from now, some of these guys aren't going to be the same value. Maybe someone. Okay, I'm not gonna say someone's gonna get injured here, but just in case of that. So if you're watching this September 28th and some of these guys aren't cheap anymore, that's why. That's just how Sorare works. So as we get into it, I'm going to be using Sorare data. So that's soraredata.com. I have a full subscription there, but you can check it out. Sorare data, very helpful if you're into Sorare. Use that. As I always say in these videos, I use Sorare data with RotoWire in combination because I think that's the best tool really of what you can use. They both offer different kinds of things, and you'll see here in this video what exactly I'm talking about. So I guess let's just get into it here. So before we go, rotowire.com/soccer trial, I'm going to be getting into player profiles that are not free. So if you want to get into the insides of RotoWire, so rotowire.com/soccer trial, that's a 48-hour trial. And as I get into these profiles, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff here that you can look at. And I'm only looking at player profiles. Again, we have cheat sheets. We have stats for everything you can think of. We have rankings. We have all that stuff. So let's get into it here. So yes, the first player I'm going to highlight here is Connor Roberts. And the main reason is, I mean, you look at some of these results here that Burnley have had to start the season off, and it's like, okay, are they ready? Is this Vincent Kompany team ready for the Premier League? Maybe not, but Connor Roberts has moved around the formation a little bit, left back, right back. He's going to be a regular starter all season. I think that's the main thing that you can take away. Roberts is not going to lose his job. And I think that's the plus right there. And I mean, even if you're looking at what he's done in these first few games, he hasn't been terrible. I think that's also a takeaway. I mean, we could see his price has steadily gone down since the season started because it's like, okay, it hit the last match he played. He had an error that led to a goal. So he was well down there. So what do they have? 5-2 loss against Tottenham, 3-1 loss against Aston Villa, 3-0 loss against Manchester City. 3 top 10 teams, 3 of the best teams in the league. These matchups aren't going to be happening every match of the season. So I think we have to take that into account. And I mean, okay, he's put in mediocre results, poor results. That's why his price has gone down. But I think, I mean, if you look back at last season, a lot of positive matchups. And when he plays the bottom 5, bottom 10, I think we're going to see his score average at least get back up a little bit to where I think you can consider him kind of cheap right now for what he provides. I know maybe they're going to be battling relegation all season, but let me pull up his profile on RotoWire here. So here we're at. Here we go. This is him. This is Connor Roberts. As you can see his profile, 4 goals, 6 assists last season with Burnley in the championship. And not a ton of numbers here to look at through 3 games. But as you can see, he's going 90 every match. And I think that's the important part with these value players. You want someone that's really not going to lose their job. And Roberts isn't going to lose his job. So a couple other guys that I want to mention might lose their jobs. So Ryan Aitnari, that'll be the first one. He's going to be fighting Hugo Bueno for minutes, and I don't think he's going to be getting starts or playing in the midfield much, if at all, anymore, just because uh, they Wolves have added a couple players in the window, and we saw early, maybe in cup. I think in the cup game they actually had Ryan Aitnari started as a left-sided midfielder. I don't think that's going to be happening, but still, these are some cheap players. Joe Ward is just an unexciting fullback, but he's the captain of Crystal Palace. I guess he's not going to lose his job. He is the captain. Nathaniel Klein's behind him, so I mean he's there. So that's a boost. And then Alex Moreno is someone I did want to highlight just because he's coming back from injury. And I think that is the big thing of note. I know Luca Digne has opened the season awesome, and he's had, I don't know, what is it, 3 something, maybe 5 assists in the opening season. But I mean, we can't forget that Moreno came into Aston Villa. It was an Unai Emery addition. And pretty much right away, he took the spot. Digne, that's why Digne was in transfer rumors since he joined up. And I mean, we look at the initial reasoning for why Moreno was getting more playing time was because a little more of an attacking fullback that kind of Unai Emery wanted. Digne has looked better. And as we look to see what happened, then last season he was basically starting almost every match since he joined Aston Villa. And as you can see here, hamstring injury, nearing a return to training. This was 2 weeks ago. So after the international break, Moreno is going to be an option to get minutes. We had this situation last season where it was like, if Digne started, we knew that he was coming off at the 60th minute and Moreno was coming on. And then if Moreno started, as you can see here, a lot of times he was getting subbed off 70th before that. But I mean, he has some 90s in here. So right now, coming back from injury, I'll say it's 50. I guess I'll say, okay, Luca Digne, maybe 60-40 that he's going to continue at left back. But once Unai Emery sees, maybe a bad game or two from Digne, I think Moreno is going to take that spot. So if you want a player returning from injury that was really good last season, I think Alex Moreno is someone to keep an eye on. Next player we're looking at, Andreas Pereira, and he had a pretty good season last season at Fulham, and Fulham really haven't had the greatest start to the campaign here as we look to see what happened. It's been some tough matchups, but I think the big thing, one thing I like looking for is players returning from injury, kind of a thing, or mainly players returning from injury. As you can see, if you look at his player profile, he was picked up an ankle injury, picked up a minor knock in the preseason, and then came back. He came off the bench against Everton, and then he still really hasn't been 100% until his first 90 of the season came in that match against Manchester City. Okay, and you look at the last 2 results, it was, okay, he got a goal against Arsenal, but Manchester City, Arsenal, okay, they had a home loss against Brentford, which wasn't great, but I mean, at the end of the day, there are some tough matchups in there, and he is a set piece taker. I know a lot of what his numbers look like last season, kind of reliant on getting a goal or getting an assist kind of thing. He doesn't have a great floor, doesn't have a great all around floor, and that's one of the worrying things, I guess you could say. But as a set piece taker here for Fulham, who they need someone to step up. I don't think we actually know who their PK taker is. It might even be Pereira without Mitrovic on the team. Pereira might be the PK taker. I believe he took one last season. You can double check me if you want, but so you have a pretty cheap midfielder, PK taker on a team, getting back to health. Let's assume that he's going to be much closer to 100% following the international break. He's going to be a regular starter. I don't think his job in the lineup is close to disappearing at all. Fulham have not added too many pieces. Adama Traore is on the list, but really Alex Iwobi is also there. I don't think Iwobi, I mean, maybe it's going to be 2 months from now and Iwobi starting over Pereira. I don't think that's going to happen, but I guess it's in the realm of possibility here if Fulham have some struggles, I guess, coming out of the break. But 33 starts last season. I don't think he's going to lose that job. Just a cheap midfielder. When you have access to to set pieces. You have access to PKs. I think he's a pretty good look there. The other ones I want to talk about, more Burnley guys. A lot of this is going to be because I'm talking about value cards. So that usually means teams at the bottom of the table. So here's more Burnley guys. One guy I have my eye on is just Josh Brownhill. No idea what's going on with him. No idea what the situation is. I think he was in some early rumors in terms of Burnley and moving elsewhere, but he's still on the team. He was, look at his numbers here. If we're looking here at RotoWire.com, 7 goals, 8 assists last season. He scored last game against Tottenham, but he's played 46 minutes in league games through the first 3 matches. I think he started in the cup game as well, but he didn't move anywhere. He did not transfer anywhere. So I wonder if he is someone who would actually move back into the starting 11, and then you'd get a split of set pieces. You'd assume get a split of set pieces. So just something to keep an eye on. This is like a speculative ad, I would say, on Josh Brownhill, just because he got the 45 minutes off the bench last match. I think he came on for Goodmunson, but there is a role for him on this team. I don't think Burnley have added some big name players that are just going to eat up time. I just don't think it's there. They got Sander Berg and Josh Cullen in the midfield. Another guy I mentioned was Josh Cullen. So if you want someone that's safer, more reliability, okay, Josh Cullen. But Brownhill, I'd say has more upside. We saw in Brownhill 7 goals, 8 assists last season with expected set pieces as well when he plays. So just something to keep an eye on. I would put Brownhill above if you prefer speculative ads instead of, maybe reliable or safer ads. Again, Cullen will be someone who's all around score about 40 per match, which, okay, whatever. Next person I'm talking about, returning from injury. Nothing surprising here. Marcus Tavernier. This one popped out to me. I was surprised why he was cheaper than $10 for a limited card. I think that's going to keep going up. I saw, let me pull up really quickly. He was maybe about $5. This was 3 days ago. So early in the week, he was about $5. I think he's starting to actually creep up to closer to $10 American dollars. So this is like a difference of 0.0028 ETH or 0.0017. So I think he's slowly creeping up. I think he's going to be above 0.003 pretty soon here. I think people are going to start realizing that he got minutes off the bench. He played in a behind closed doors friendly on Monday. So he's getting back his fitness. He's returning from injury, very injury prone. Obviously that's an issue, but you see the numbers for his last 40 is at 50. He's got a good all around score. He's got set pieces. You scroll through his game logs, and towards the end of the last season, there was a lot of injuries. So it's hard really to take away much from that, but he is, when fit, when healthy, he was born this best player last season. And I'm just looking through his all-around scores from last season, maybe sitting around 40. Tougher matchups, he's below 35, but good matchups. All-around score of 10 against Tottenham, 16 against Fulham. So he has it in him. So the question is if he can stay healthy. I think this is just kind of like another, speculative ad. This is a cheap guy who could pretty much double in price if he starts coming out of the international break. So let me pull up his RotoWire profile here just to show what his numbers did last season. 5 goals, 4 assists in 23 appearances. 24 years old. I think he's still improving. If he can continue, if he can stay healthy, I think that's just a massive boost. And I think there's definitely if he can stay healthy, a starting spot for him that will be consistent. So he's just got to stay healthy. So as you can see in this lineup, they've been mixing it up. Ryan Christie has been kind of swapping a little bit with Philip Billing in terms of defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder. But Justin Kluivert has started, I think, the last 2 league matches for him. Semenyo has started on the right side pretty much the last 3 matches. And then they added Sinisterra. Brooks has also gotten a start. So Antonio Raiola has kind of switched up his wingers a little bit, trying to find what guy he wants to put in there. And I don't know if he found the exact answer yet. They got rid of and for Sinisterra, they swapped basically Jaden Anthony. Jaden Anthony got a couple starts for him. Jaden Anthony's gone now. So I think there's a spot here. I think Tavernier is I think he's better. He's noticeably better than all the other wingers that they have. And if he can stay healthy, I think that getting him at this cheap price right here, right around $10, point, if it gets to 0.003, I think this is a guy who can get to 0.006 and above if he stays healthy. If you see him start 3-4 matches in a row, I think his price can kind of jump, which, I mean, you don't really have that with really anything. I think just even on Bournemouth, I think because of how good he is, I think you can get that price bump with him. Otherwise, in midfield, more midfield players. I mentioned Billing, Idrissa Gueye. Billing, I think guarantee for the starting 11, no matter what happens with Bournemouth. I know Tyler Adams is coming back from injury, but I think Billing has a safe spot. Idrissa Gueye seems like he has a safe spot as well. His floor is actually pretty good. He's just a cheap defensive midfielder, and it seems like his position is safe. I know that they added a few guys, and maybe there will be some change of formation once Jack Harrison's back, once Dwight McNeil's ready to start. We'll see, but I mean, Iwobi's gone. I don't think Onana is going to be starting over Gay, and I mean, we've seen his all-around score has been pretty decent. Idrissa Gueye is pretty much the same price as Marcus Tavernier. Again, Idrissa Gueye he's going to be turning 34 pretty soon, so this is probably maybe a one season buy, if anything. Maybe you buy him now, and I don't know how much his price is going to go up, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's a pretty, as you can see from his floor, it's a floor that's 40 to 50 points, sometimes upside is 60. I mean, even against end of last season, he had a floor. His total score 70 points. He had an all-around score of 35 points. So that's kind of sitting in there with Idrissa. So just maybe an older player, but a good floor. Maybe not a player for his outlook for the future like Tavernier, but just someone a midfielder that you can kind of feel safe about, really. And now we're getting into forwards here. There's a few guys that I was looking at, but Sasa Kalajdzic is the guy that stood out to me. Again, kind of similar to goalkeeper, you're not going to find many value forwards or many cheap forwards. But Sasa Kalajdzic, just someone to keep an eye on. Just, again, another guy coming back from injury, coming back from a torn ACL. He is basically out for a full season. And as you can see in his profile, he's already scored. I think he scored against Everton. He got the winner, but he also scored in a cup game about a week or two ago or something. He's basically been healthy since the preseason. He's starting to get minutes up. He's starting to ramp up minutes. He hasn't gotten that start yet, and I think it's coming. I think that he's going to be the guy over Fabio Silva. I don't agree with Fabio Silva. It's not that I don't agree with it, but I don't think Fabio Silva is going to be the starting forward at the end of the season for Wolverhampton. Maybe I'm wrong. And I mean, we look at the prices. Fabio Silva is younger, so maybe that has to do with him being more expensive than Kalajdzic, but Kalajdzic is half the price of Fabio Silva. And I think, if not coming out of the international break, I think in 2-3 weeks, I think Kalajdzic is going to move into the starting 11. I think he's a better scorer. I think he's a better player, and I think soon enough Kalajdzic is going to be there. We saw what he could do Stuttgart a few seasons ago as we're looking at his RotoWire profile, 16 goals, 5 assists. Again, okay, Bundesliga, but he's more of a goal scorer. I mean, Fabio Silva has just not really done it in the Premier League. So I like Kalajdzic. I like his price. And the more that Wolverhampton struggle, I think it's more likely that Sasa is going to move in there. I'm just not sold on Fabio Silva being an every match starter for Wolverhampton. A few more we're looking at. Semenyo, I mentioned him for Bournemouth, but I think he's the cheapest, maybe regular starter right now of any of the forwards. He might lose his spot. He might lose his spot to Sinisterra. He could be the guy that loses his spot to Vernier. Maybe we'll see what happens, but Semenyo he kind of, after coming on in the first half or in the second half in the Bournemouth's first match, he started the last 3 league matches. It's kind of seemed like he kind of won over Andoni in the last few matches. I don't know if he's going to hold his spot, but he's very cheap for someone that could still be a regular starter for Bournemouth. A couple more guys, Lyle Foster. We've seen what he could do. Not a huge all-around floor. I mean, this is Burnley. I'm talking about Burnley a lot here, but Burnley don't really have much else. As I look here, I haven't pulled up any depth charts here, but let me pull up the Burnley depth chart here. So we can just go to the Premier League and we'll check out depth charts here. So let's look at the Burnley depth chart. So like, what is Lyle Foster competing with? It's a lot of names. I mean, Jay Rodriguez is still around. He hasn't really played much this season. They added Mike Tressor. Okay, Benson, Larson. These guys are all options off the bench. So Rory's is expected to get more time. He got a red card in the opener off the bench. Koleoshi's been playing more on the wing, and Downey is there as well. But the guys just aren't there. So I think just as probably a consistent starter for Burnley, Lyle Foster's still pretty cheap. He's a young player. So someone, if you want to plug him in, go ahead. Jordan Ayew is kind of in the same boat as Idrissa Gueye, I guess. Obviously, Ayew more of a 4, but his floor is pretty good. And I don't think his job will be going. We'll see how Roy Hodgson wants to do it once Michael Elise is back. It could be Jordan Ayew losing out in some starts, but he might be a captain. I don't know if he's a captain, but veteran player. He's played pretty well this season in the system. I think Hodgson loves him as well. I think it's going to be as we look at. So if Michael Elise, when he comes back, they're going to have to mix up something. So that's going to mean less. Probably Edouard is still going to be starting, but that probably means Jeffrey Schlupp moves to the bench. At least that's my prediction. So, and that means Ayew is sticking in there. And again, this isn't a look towards 2 years from now. Ayew is getting old. Who knows what his position will be next season, but it seems like right now he's got a pretty good handle on the starting job for Crystal Palace. And Calvert-Lewin, I'm just throwing him in. Just because I know Beto's there for Everton and he's going to help out, maybe steal some minutes, but maybe deep down inside, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin can get back to the form that he had 2-3 seasons ago. Maybe, obviously he wants to. He's trying very hard to get to that form. Maybe it doesn't happen, but this is still a cheap Premier League forward, and I think at the end of the day, I think he's a better player than Beto. Maybe that won't matter. Maybe the injuries will kind of end Calvert-Lewin's stint at Everton here eventually, but he is cheap. And again, I keep talking about these speculative ads. Just, okay, maybe he's not going to break the bank. You don't got to break the bank to get Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but if he, strings together some starts and maybe he starts finding some form, this is a guy whose price could just double pretty quickly. And it would be a situation where, okay, maybe Beto and Calvert-Lewin start at the same time. If Sean Dyche really want to mix things up, maybe go back to his patented 4-4-2 formation, something like that. But that's all I got here. That's all I got. 23 minutes of Sorare talk. Hopefully, maybe you'll grab one of these players. Hopefully, it's helped a little bit. But again, I used all these graphics I had up. I pulled these off of Sorare data. So make sure to check those guys out. Make sure to check them out. And a deal as well. They're only getting bigger. We're friends with them, so check it out. Also, rotowire.com/soccer trial, free 48-hour trial. All the player profiles I've been using, all the depth charts I've been using, you can get those with a subscription. And then if you want to talk more, if you want to talk Sorare, if you want to talk DFS, rotowire.com/chat, get into our Discord. And as you can see, it is their international break, but things keep happening. We got 10 MLS teams. Always check out. We're covering a bunch of leagues over at RotoWire. Let me pull up these MLS lineups. So we got 5 MLS matches coming up. Again, we also have lineups. So I know this rare people that you need lineups, and we do have those for all the 5 European leagues. We'll have them for Champions League, Liga MX as well, MLS. So check those out as well. Thank you for watching this. You can find me at RotoZdroik on Twitter. Ask me any questions on there. Same with at RotoWire Soccer. Again, rotowire.com/soccer trial. Good luck on Sorare. Hopefully some of these players will be good ideas coming out of the international break.